I just think it's the most interesting thing there is. A good song can be touching, very illuminating, very powerful little gem story. I'm Jim Terr. I'm a songwriter, and I want to share with you in this series called Song and Story Weekly, which is actually going to be 4 times a week, the joy of songwriting. You know, I'm not sure many people think about it, but except songwriters, but we listen to songs all day, every day. We appreciate it. We're touched by them at best. And we don't think much about how they're written, or we don't think about writing them. And it's actually a fascinating craft. I aspire to write particularly country hits like Tom T. Hall and Bobby Braddock have consistently. That's kind of my brass ring. I want to share with you some songs I've written and recorded, some of which I think are pretty good, and I've had a little success, and give some background. I always think it's interesting with regard to anything, songs or movies or anything, to hear how it was put together, how the thought came about, what the considerations were. I just think songwriting is about the most fun you can have. And the rewards are great if you get a good hit country song cut by somebody else, in my case. For the first 31 episodes here, I'm just going to take 31 songs from this book that I wrote, actually way back in 1988. Called You Got to Be Stupid to Sing Country Music, and Other Unusual Song Lyrics by Jim Terr. I hope you'll enjoy this series. On Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I'm going to have a new song every day, background on the writing, the recording, whatever. And then on Saturday, particularly, I'll emphasize more the songwriting considerations, so that the Saturday installments could be used as a forum for thinking about your own songwriting or working on it as a group with your family. I think that'd be a great activity. So welcome, and let's get to it, and here we go. Thank you for joining me once again. We'll see what today's song is, but I got a feeling it's going to be a good one.
Yes.
I want to thank our previous host who's back again. Your previous video has gone viral. I appreciate it very much. So what have you chosen for us today?
Doing MUDVILLE.
That's a fine selection, and fashioned after what famous baseball poem, of course?
Passing room in the bathroom. Of course.
By?
Hey, yay!
Yes, it's a recitation. It's just words. It's fashioned after the baseball classic called Casey at the Bat. And are you with me here? Come on, this is fascinating stuff. Anyway, of course, the original has nothing to do with romance, but that is the stuff of modern songs, and I think the story works very well. And it's a story of reconciliation, of an almost magical reuniting, the return of the, what do you call it?
Prodigal son.
Yes, the prodigal son, and it's frankly very melodramatic, but I think it works. I hope you like it as much as I do. Well, let's hear it.
This is life.
The outlook wasn't too brilliant as I went to bed that night, and I woke up feeling so alone in the glaring morning light. I thought about how far I'd come and how far I had to go, with nothing but an aching back and little else to show. I'd left my wife and unborn child about 7 years before, in a little town like this, 500 miles away or more. The factory'd closed, no job, no pride. I left just one short note. God bless you and goodbye, I love you both, is all I wrote. So there I was, another day in another little town, and this one's name was MUDVILLE. Even the sound of it got me down. Going nowhere fast with no one walking by my side. The thought of one more sales call, Lord, I rather would have died. So I had a shower and breakfast, toast and scrambled eggs again, and walked around and watched the little children and their friends. About 10 o'clock I wandered by the local baseball game. A stranger, but I pretended I belonged there just the same. The action wasn't much, but the excitement grew and grew. The Beavers had the Groundhogs down by a score of 3-2. The slugger at the plate was small, but he clenched his teeth so hard, if looks could swing a bat, he'd have knocked that ball right out of that yard. I felt a chill when up and back I heard his mama shout. I guess it took me back to when I tried to slug 'em out, and my mom used to cheer for me no matter what I did. How blessed when it's all a game and you're loved 'cause you're a kid. She yelled again, and one more time her voice gave me the chills. "Hit a homer, Casey!" It seemed to echo from the hills. She cheered again, and I looked back, and I'll bet you think you know the rest. You've heard enough songs and stories to know they sometimes work out best. Yeah, there she was, the woman I'd not seen in all those years. I wasn't sure if she saw me. I turned away and fought the tears. I felt the world was watching, though I'm sure no one could see. Then I felt her touch my shoulder, and I heard her speak to me.
"I forgive you, darling, and you know it's taken time to learn to feel forgiving with a heart as hard as mine. I knew I'd see you once again, though I never thought it'd be in Mudville with our groundhogs down by a score of 2 to 3.
She said she hadn't married again. It was just the two of them, and our little Casey was standing there with a chance to tie or win, with a man on first, and we'd said all we could say in the stands. Me speechless and her crying. We just sat there holding hands. I'll spare you all the details, but our Casey sliced the sky. Thank God he didn't look and see his mom with some strange guy. Well, he swung again, and I couldn't wait to hold this little man. It took a while for him and for all of us to understand. Now, somewhere there's a lonely train a-callin' in the night, and somewhere there's a lonely man just looking for a fight. And there's beavers or there's groundhogs feeling bad they lost somehow. But there's a little joy in Mudville, 'cause we're all together now.
Music beautiful.
Well, thanks.
It's not real.
Well, not to drop names, and I wasn't going to mention this, but the music was something I did, and by the way, I had the full studio and string section, something I've almost never used before. The background track was for a song called A Stranger in Nashville, which Slim Pickens, the movie star, excuse me very much, recorded for me on an album I produced for him. The only album that was ever released by him, by the way. Not to drop names or anything. But, by the way, speaking of big names, and speaking of baseball, you are quite the baseball prodigy yourself, and your father is actually quite a big name in baseball, isn't he?
I don't want to talk about it. We're cleaning out this room.
I don't think that's really an appropriate comment for a serious interview.